Listen, there are survival skills people love to talk about. And then there are the ones nobody teaches you because they think you can't handle the responsibility. And honestly, that might be true for most people. But if you're watching this, you're not most people. You're here because you want the uncomfortable, unpolished truth. The stuff that keeps you alive when society isn't society anymore. So let's skip the motivational fluff. Skip the movie logic. And go straight into 5 survival skills that are basically forbidden, not because they're illegal, but because they're powerful, misunderstood, and incredibly easy to misuse. But in a real collapse, they're exactly what separate the people who make it from the people who disappear quietly. Here's the first thing no one tells you. Your environment is constantly talking to you. But almost nobody knows how to listen. I'm not talking about some mystical sixth sense. I'm talking about reading micro changes in the world around you. Shifts in temperature, sound rhythm, airflow, scent, pressure. The stuff your brain has been trained your whole life to ignore. That tiny irregular crunch? Not an animal. Animals don't break their cadence unless they're hurt. That faint warmth still lingering on a metal door handle? Someone touched it minutes ago. The smoke drifting sideways instead of rising? There's a fire far off. And the wind is changing direction. These micro signals are physics and biology, not magic, but people treat this skill like it's taboo because once you learn it, you realize how blind everyone else is, and how easy it is to avoid walking into danger just by noticing what doesn't fit. When society collapses, you won't have maps, sensors, or cameras. What you have is your ability to detect patterns and, more importantly, to notice when those patterns break. Now let's talk about something even more controversial. Using darkness instead of fighting it. Everyone's instinct is to fear the dark, to light up everything around them the moment the power dies. Worst possible move. Your eyes take 20 to 40 minutes to fully adapt to darkness. And one quick burst of bright light resets the whole process. That includes your phone screen. By the way, people doom scroll themselves blind without even realizing it. But if you train yourself to work with the dark, not against it, you suddenly operate in a world where you see more than almost anyone else. You keep your vision wide instead of narrow. You rely on your peripheral vision because it detects motion better than your center vision ever could. You avoid direct light so your pupils stay open and responsive. And here's the forbidden part. Darkness becomes camouflage. It hides you. It protects you. It gives you time to think while everyone else is stumbling around, revealing their location with every panicked flashlight flick. People avoid teaching this skill because they think it encourages stealth. But stealth isn't about being a predator. Stealth is about not becoming prey. In the dark, the person who stays invisible lives longer. The third forbidden skill is something the military uses constantly but civilians almost never hear about. Controlling your breathing to override panic. And yes, I know, whenever people hear breathing exercises, they picture yoga mats and soft music. Forget that. This is physiology. When your breathing spikes, your heart rate surges, your blood vessels constrict, and your brain loses access to the part responsible for decision making. You don't think, you react. And reacting blindly in a crisis is how people make the kind of choices that get them hurt, trapped, or worse. That's why you need to understand the 4-2-6 cycle. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 2. Exhale for 6. It forces your nervous system to shift gears, pulling you out of fight or flight and restoring actual clarity. It's not meditation. It's a neurological reset button. Firefighters use it. Rescue teams use it. Special units use it. Civilians? Almost never. And that's why most of them drown in their own panic during blackouts, disasters, or sudden chaos. If you can regulate your breath, you can regulate your decisions. And if you can regulate your decisions, you survive things other people can't even process. Here's the next forbidden skill. Weaponizing heat management. Sounds dramatic, but it's just the truth. When people think of surviving a blackout or collapse, they picture looters, violence, or running out of supplies. But the thing that takes most people out first isn't any of that. It's silent, slow, invisible heat loss. The dangerous part isn't the cold itself. It's that your body cools down faster than you realize. And by the time you start shivering, you're already deep into a physiological failure loop. Heat escapes fastest through your breath, through contact with cold surfaces, and through stress. Yeah, Stress literally drains heat out of you because your blood vessels constrict and pull warmth away from your skin. So here's the skill. You don't generate heat. You trap it. You create microclimates under your clothing. You stack insulation in layers, not thickness. You keep your breathing slow to avoid dumping warm air into the cold. You stay off call. The final forbidden skill is the one that messes with your head the most. Resisting the first light you see. It doesn't matter if you're in a blackout, lost in the woods, or trapped in a collapsed building. Your brain is hardwired to chase brightness because brightness means safety. Warmth, hope. After hours in the dark, any light feels like rescue. But that instinct is exactly why so many people die in the final stretch of a crisis. The first light is almost always a trap. Sometimes literally, sometimes psychologically. It might be a house burning through its last candles in panic. It might be a group drawing attention to themselves. It might be a generator overheating. Or a hot spot where desperate people gather. And desperation is unpredictable. The real danger isn't the light, it's the chemical reaction inside your brain. Dopamine spikes, heart rate jumps, your thinking narrows, and suddenly you're making reckless decisions you'd never make under normal conditions, leaving shelter, approaching crowds, exposing yourself, abandoning caution. So here's the skill. When you see light, you pause, you evaluate, you assume it's dangerous until it proves it's not. Light is information, not salvation. And the collapse doesn't end when the light returns. It ends when you stop letting light make decisions for you. When you put all 5 skills together, something clicks. You start noticing the signals everyone else steps over. You stop fearing darkness and start using it. You override your panic instead of obeying it. You understand heat like a currency, not a comfort. And you stop chasing hope-shaped illusions. These aren't advanced techniques. They're the instincts your ancestors once had. Instincts modern life has buried under convenience, noise, and constant stimulation. The forbidden part isn't the skill itself. It's the responsibility of having them. Once you know how survival really works, you can't go back to pretending safety is guaranteed. You see the world differently. You move differently. And in a crisis, you live differently.